Jay Rovard, founder and director of the R&B Group. And we're having another of our series of really fascinating guests who've come through the years. And I'm very proud to have Ed Katz, the founder of Katnip Marketing. He's an award-winning marketing consultant. I've known him for 10 years. Besides being a big-time talent, he's one of the nicest businessmen I've ever had the pleasure of meeting and dealing with. So Ed, please say hello. And then I've got a couple of questions for you and to get you going and to make this the best interview we can.
Very good. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate the introduction. Hi, everybody. Ed Katz, founder and principal of Katnip Marketing. We're now 12 years old and won multi-awards for advertising, marketing, public relations work.
Ed, I still remember choosing colleges, and I looked and I just missed the Vietnam stuff back in 1969. And I picked Tulane University because it was high up on Playboy's list and it had a decent academic reputation. And maybe I would get the chance to see Pete Maravich play. But when I'm looking at your resume, you know, from college, being in the theater department, being involved in media, I wish you'd go back a little bit and sort of talk about how you started, how you had these interests, and how it led you basically into the career path you are today.
Okay, sure. My interest in film really started when I was an early teen, at probably 12, 13. So yeah, maybe a tween, I guess they call them now, tweens. But my mom sat me down in front of the TV and said, watch this movie. And it was Citizen Kane. Blew me away. Yeah. And at that point, I wanted to see if there was a way to be involved in film as a career. Because it just blew me away on so many levels. And I had a passion for film and got into that. And when I was looking at colleges, I wanted to find one. This was kind of a deal with my dad, who wanted me to do business school. He says, fine, you want to do film? Great. Make sure you find a place where you can also have a business major. Yeah. So I had to find places that had a dual major. And there weren't that many at that time, but I found Syracuse University. And in Newhouse, they had the film department and they had a business school as well. So that was my first choice. I was early decision, got in, and that was it. So I was at Syracuse University with a dual major there. So I had film at Newhouse and marketing from at the time it was called the School of Management. Now it's the Whitman School of Management.
So the fact that you had some good running backs in the school, that didn't play into your interest.
You know, I really wasn't. I mean, I knew about, Jim Brown and Floyd Little because he grew up near me. I grew up in Orange and he was New Haven, Milford, and all that area. And of course, I read about Jim Nance and Ernie Davis, huge. So it was fascinating, but that wasn't a big factor. And at the time, they hadn't really had the Carrier Dome built yet. That happened while I was still there. So the games were at Archbold Stadium outside in the freezing cold and snow, and I'd watch my roommate trudge off all bundled up to go to a game, and I didn't go. I did later, but not right away. And I liked the basketball games because a sophomore got me into the Syracuse basketball games. So that was fun.
And going over your beginnings, I see Channel 3 TV, and every time I watch Morning Joe for a few minutes, I think about you. So why don't you start from over there and then how you progressed in business and then how you got into your own agency and blossomed. And also, you're interested in rock music. Most of us enjoy it. I mean, here you were ready to do a rock opera. You followed groups around all over the country, and whether it's Jeff Beck or Cheap Trick. So start talking about your progression. I just found it fascinating stuff, doing what you love.
Well, Channel 3, I started because in college, I started learning what a big field cable TV was going to be. Wanted to get into that and was able to get in at Cablevision in Fairfield County when they were brand new. And that was really my first job out of college. And from there, through a client of my father's, he was what they called at the time stockbrokers, now, financial advisors. But he had a client who was a sales manager of a TV station, and he, they're talking about their kids, and he says, "Well, my son's working at Cablevision." He goes, "If he could sell cable, I got to talk to him because he could definitely sell advertising for TV." Sure. So anyway, after working, I didn't work for his station because it's complicated, but I ended up working at another station that he recommended I go to because he said they would train me better. So I worked at an independent station in Connecticut, Channel 20 for a couple of years, and then got recruited to Channel 3, Connecticut's CBS TV affiliate, and basically usually the #1 news station in Connecticut. So I worked there for several years. I met a guy who became my business partner. We set out and formed an ad agency up in the greater Hartford area and started growing it from there. And over a 15-year period, we grew it to about 20 employees and won many awards and large accounts. And then at that point, I decided it was a good time to sell my half of the business and our building. And I started Katnip Marketing the very next day, and being one of the early adopters of remote work. So I worked from home and did everything pretty much virtually as of now 12 years ago. So the adaptation to the new pandemic situation wasn't as big a transition for me. It was for my clients, but I helped many of those navigate through that as best we can. But it was definitely a hit from my standpoint, because some of the clients in the entertainment world really couldn't be doing any more performances. So that was definitely a hit for that sector of my clientele.
Maybe give us a couple examples of your most exciting projects.
Well, I do a lot of work with attorneys and their clients, and sometimes it's helping the attorneys position some of the lead attorneys as subject matter experts, but more often than not, it's working with their clients. And sometimes it's crisis communications work. So there was one case where there was a very popular rock band. They actually had a #1 album. They were platinum. They were on Saturday Night Live, sold out shows at Madison Square Garden. The woman who was on the cover of their biggest album wasn't being paid for it. So the attorney she engaged to get compensation brought me in because he knew that social media was going to hammer her terribly for suing this very popular rock band. So what my job was to get her positive press coverage to tell her side of the story. And it so happened that she had an adorable 12-year-old daughter, and she was also recently a cancer survivor. So I managed to get her a very high profile interview. I actually had ABC World News Tonight lined up to do an interview with her, and the lawyer was panicked. He said, "No, I'm afraid on live TV, she'd say something that might prejudice a settlement." I'm like, "Okay, got it." I said, "How about like a really high profile magazine?" He goes, "That would be perfect."
Yes.
So I got her an exclusive with Vanity Fair. So,
wow.
And I did it I also researched who the reporters were, and I wanted to find the right one because this particular client had some bumps in the road in her background that, depending on how the reporter would write it, could come out badly or could come out just, like a little mention.
Yes.
And I wanted to find someone who would do the more mention side, because you can't control public relations. Advertising you can, but PR is earned media, and you get it out there as best you can, but you never know what they're going to write. So what I was able to do was to dictate, as part of getting an exclusive, all the photos they took of the client had to be of her with her 12-year-old daughter. That was a tough one, but I got that through for them getting the benefit of exclusivity for the story. And I found the right reporter, because the reporter had written the story on Venus Williams, who also had some bumps in the road in her background, and the reporter mentioned them, but it was tactfully done.
Yes.
So I said, this is a reporter I think would do a good job. I sold the client on it, I sold the attorney on it, and then I sold Vanity Fair on it, and the story worked out great. The client had a really nice feature. They did a great job on it. The photos were terrific, and she got a very nice settlement. So it was a win-win all around. But that helped turn the tide. And we could see it. We were monitoring social media, and we could see all the comments after the story hit, and it was their #1 story for over a week online, and had well over 1 million views in the first week. So it became a very big story.
Well, and now you've made some big changes. You moved down to Florida. COVID has hit. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that has all affected your business?
Right. Well, as I said, the entertainment clients, I have one that's an annual event. I've worked with them for 8 years now, and another that's an annual event I've worked with the past 5. Both those got canceled. That was a blow. And then I picked up a theater production client down here. They produce musicals at the Kravis Center, and they've been doing that for several years when I picked them up. And in the beginning of last year, before everything hit, right around December, January, about just over a year ago, I was able to negotiate a sponsorship deal with the CBS TV station. We'd have ads running in the Tony Awards for the show. We had a great social media campaign, and you'll appreciate this, Jay, from a tactical standpoint.
Yeah.
We were able to create an ad program, or working with one of my vendors, where anyone who went to see Hamilton in early February at the Kravis Center here in West Palm Beach, we would be able to serve ads to them, as long as they brought their smartphone into the theater with them and showed they appeared during times Hamilton played. We would be able to send them ads for my client. And the thinking being, if they could pay about $400 for a ticket to Hamilton at the Kravis Center, they could pay $60 to $70 for a ticket for one of my clients' musicals in the same building a month or so later. But of course, a month or so later was March, and that's when everything got shut down.
It's interesting, Ed. Being a history major, I never knew much about Alexander Hamilton. About 6 months, I read this 1,000-page biography. What an astonishingly brilliant man!
Right, Chernow's book, yeah, terrific.
Everything.
Yeah. Great source material.
200 years in advance.
Yeah, great source material, and give credit to Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did a terrific job dramatizing it, which Ann and I got to see very, very early on with the original cast. And this is going to shock you. We paid $99 for our tickets in the orchestra.
Wow.
Very early on. That's because, and as you mentioned, because I have a theater background, my quest to work with this band, I won't mention their name, but they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I got to meet them. I had an idea for a musical with them, and that had a lot to do with my wife, but that's a longer story. But so the fate had it that I met the leader of the band, who wrote all their main songs, their hits, and we wanted to work on this musical. I got led into the theater world by some friends who said, you got to go to this group, you got to meet these people, and they've been terrific. And one of the people I met was Michael Alden, the lead producer of The King's Speech,
who came to one of our programs.
He sent me the script before the movie ever came out. I didn't even know there was a movie.
Wow.
And I read the script, was blown away. It was phenomenal. I showed my wife, she's got it. She said, you got to get involved. And I said, okay, Michael, what do I do? This script's phenomenal. He said, raise some money. So I did. And that's how I became a theater producer.
Wow.
And The King's Speech has had a quirky fate. It toured Australia, it toured England, did well on those tours, and was starting to tour America. It did a nice 5-week run in Chicago, the end of 2019, and then had a brief run in Washington, D.C., and great reviews, same thing in Chicago, and then was ready to go to Hartford in March. Yes. And everything got shut down. So it had other dates booked, and we're hoping to, once everything settles down, bring it to Broadway. That's the plan. But it's a terrific script. Same writer wrote the movie, but he actually wrote the play first, just happened to be adapted to be a movie first.
Wow. And I must say, in terms of our group, the R&B group, you've been one of the most loyal, I must say one of the most talented all around in so many areas of life. And you've been so incredibly generous. And we're so glad that now we can be online and have you back.
I appreciate that. I got to say, Jay, you've been amazing with the groups, because you get the great people there, and that's all on you. I mean, you do a terrific job getting the people there. And Larry, who is helping with the production here, you connected me to Larry. Larry made a connection for me that could turn into a great project. I can't speak yet about it because it's still in development, but if it happens, it will be terrific. And that's because of you and Larry. And thank you so much to both of you.
Well, my plug to Larry Wilner, my conductor and everything, director, producer, and everything. He's, again, in the Hall of Fame of helping us out. So, Ed, you've been coming to our events. How do you feel we're doing it now online? What is your impression now that we're national now? We can go all over the place, knowing people gave up on us, and we started from really nothing, learning how to do the Zoom like everybody else. What's your thoughts about how we're doing it now?
I think it's terrific. I do other networking. There's groups I started when I moved down to Florida a couple of years ago. I mean, I still have about half my clients are still Fairfield, New York City area based. So, but I still have the other half are down here. And I was doing networking groups down here and meeting people. And when COVID hit, they were one of the first groups to transition to Zoom meetings online. And one of the local networking groups where we would go, and there'd be between 20 and 45 people for a breakfast meeting, which I thought was great. Well, online, they're doing 60 to 70, and that's what you're doing. You're doing, 60, 70, 80 people on the groups. I think it's tremendous. And the breakout rooms are great, so you get to do some one-on-ones briefly, and you learn who you want to follow up with. I think it's terrific, because what we've seen from these groups is, and you know this too, Jay, it works this way from LinkedIn. it's not necessarily who you know, it's who they know, because that's the exponential value of a network. It really goes, the 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon,
Yes.
which I thought it's terrific. I love it.
Well, Ed, we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us again. And please give my best to your lovely wife, who's a wonderful, wonderful person, a wonderful yoga instructor, and just a great human being. And I hope you keep coming to our events until they stop, whatever that is, in the next century or something. How long we can do this, we're going to do it, and hopefully you'll be coming. So thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule and making it here. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jay. You're the best. Happy to do it.
Thank you.